Welcome back to the channel. And we are now fully involved with World Cup play. And Brazil's game against Morocco has just ended. And we are going to be looking at how this game went. This Brazilian team does not look like a team capable of winning the World Cup. They were rather boring, rather understated. And let's look at who they hit the field with. They started out with Alisson in goal, Ibanez on at wing back, Douglas Santos also at wing back, Marquinhos and Gabriel as expected at centre back. They had Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes in holding midfield, Lucas Paqueta, Rafinha, Vini Jr. in attacking midfield, and Thiago, the Brentford player, in the striker position, and they just were simply anemic. Morocco, they took the initiative from the get go. They started out pressing this Brazilian team, and it was not surprising when they got the goal, even though the goal did come out of the blue. That good push ball up through the middle from Brian Diaz, and Sebari made no mistake. Excellent finish over Allison, worthy of any game. And so that was not a surprise. The goal did come out of the blue, but it was not a surprise that they did take the lead. This Brazilian team was basically feeling its way around. Um, they were just not connecting the way they ought to have. The way you expect to see a Brazilian team connect, that just was not there. The fluidity was not there. They looked a bit scared at the back as well. Very, you know, clumsy, very apprehensive. That's the word you want to use. They looked very apprehensive at the back. The attacking you would expect to see coming down the flanks from the wing backs was just simply not there. Vinny was probably their best, well, not probably, Vinny was their best player on the field, and he was out there on the flank. His goal was a world class goal. The way he picked it up, took on the defender, held his head up, cut inside, and the shot was hit with power. It was hit with spin. The placement was perfect, and the goalkeeper Bono in Morocco's goal simply had no chance, absolutely none. But Brazil was just not there. They were trying. You could see them trying, but it the quality was just not there. And you'd probably be wondering to yourself, how is it? It's Brazil. What are you talking about? The quality not there. I mean, they had players on the field: Gabriel, Marquinhos, Vini Jr., Rafinha, Lucas Paqueta, Bruno Guimaraes, Casemiro. These are all household names playing for some of the biggest clubs in the world. But in that yellow shirt, with the weight that comes with that yellow shirt, they just don't seem to be a cohesive enough unit. And in fact, they just don't seem to be able to get it together on a team basis. I'm sure Marquinhos would feel a lot more comfortable with his PSG midfield than he does with this Brazil midfield. After all, I do not see the quality in this Brazil midfield as you would in a PSG midfield. So that is probably one of the things Gabriel may be feeling that same way. He may be feeling more comfortable with his Arsenal midfield than this midfield he has in front of him now. Casemiro is at the back end of his career. Bruno Guimaraes is playing for Newcastle, probably one of their better players, but not a player you would consider to be world class, world class ish, close, but not there as yet. Lucas Paqueta, skillful player, playing in Brazil. That's no knock on him. He's still one of their best midfielders. And in fact, outside of Vinny, he probably had the better showing in that midfield. Thiago was, for the most part, left up front by himself, and it just You could see that they were just not what you expected from a Brazil team. They just didn't look it. They were not fluid. They were not. There was no skill touches except in that one occasion from Paqueta, but they just were not there. And so a 1-1 draw does do them justice. They didn't deserve 3 points out of this game. Morocco did not deserve to lose this game. Ball possession was basically even. Total shots on goal, again, Morocco had more shots, 14 to Brazil's 13. They had 3 shots on target to Brazil's 5. And corner kicks, they had 2 to Brazil's 6. But when you look at things like passing completion, it was basically 88% for Brazil, 86% for Morocco. The stats were pretty much even. We were looking at two even teams. If you had taken off the jerseys and put black jerseys on one team and white jerseys on another team, you could not tell who were the Brazilians and who were the Moroccans. This was a fairly balanced game, fairly even game. There was no significant difference between these two teams, and so when they hit the field again, when this Brazil team takes to the field again in a couple of days against Haiti, we would like to see what you would be expecting them to overrun that Haitian team, but maybe not. Maybe not. They just do not look like the type of team that is going to overrun anybody. In fact, having watched the United States team, they look like a team that will overrun people. Making that comparison, I think if you should put that United States team from a night ago against this Brazil team in the same form, the US would probably win that game. Because at this point they do look like the better team. So Brazil and Ancelotti do have a lot of work to do, an extreme amount of work to do. This team just does not look like a team that is capable of winning the World Cup. And with all that being said, it is just for us now to just continue watching. And for fans of Brazil, I know a lot of them will be sitting around now biting their nails because they would have seen what we saw. They would have been experiencing what we have experienced, which is that feeling of just indifference towards a team that is basically indifferent. It's not a team that you're going to want to be putting any money on if you are a gambler of any sort. Not this Brazilian team, not this bunch of lads. They are just not with it. Ancelotti may have been trying to go for that defensive solidity. A lot of these coaches are into the belief that defense win championships, but defense win championships if you can actually get the ball into the back of the net. And outside of Vinny's strike that ended up in the back of the net, at no other time did this Brazilian team look threatening. At no other time did they look like they were going to take a hold of this game and push the Moroccans against the wall. But Morocco is no easy team, to be fair. They are rated, what is it, sixth at the last FIFA World Rankings. They are rated very high. They have been playing extremely well over the last 4 or 5 years. So they are not a team that you would expect to get pushed around easily. But notwithstanding, this Brazilian team just does not look with it. They seem very apprehensive. They seem very lacking in confidence, and they are just not the team you would want to see if you are a Brazilian fan, if you are a Brazilian backer. This is not the quality you want to see on display if you expect this team to be there at the finals. If you expect this team to put on a quality show that we all have come to know and love the Brazilians for. So let us see going forward if they can actually snap out of it, if Ancelotti can work his magic, if they can find that form, that flair, that samba style that we have all come to know and love, and what will happen if they do So until next time, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep playing.